everyone? I'm just out in the garden. Been wanting to make a video like this for a little while. Just haven't gotten around to doing it. It's one of those days where like the sky looks nice. It looks kind of nice out, a little bit crispy, but it looks kind of warm. But it's like it's deceiving. So yeah, I'm getting a little impatient for how warm the weather actually is to match how nice this sky is looking. And it's not totally in small part because I want to put like all of these things away for the season. I am sick of the weather forcing me into wearing them, and that is a big part of what I want to talk about in this video. So now that I'm inside and warmed up, my name's Earthshod Gunda, emphasis on the Earthshod part, and I want to explain why that is. Earthshod is a pagan word meaning barefoot, the earth part being self-explanatory, and the shod part having to do with what's worn on the feet. So that said, don't be surprised to see my feet in videos occasionally. Especially this one. Also, a lot of the things that I talk about in this video I'm just going to touch on really briefly, but I do have plans to go into them on future videos, and if anything that I talk about seems like one of those kind of things to you, let me know in the comments, and if I hadn't planned on it already, I'll touch on that also. So the big question that I want to answer with this video is, why do I live Earthshod? Not only what is it, but why? So I have a ton of reasons. I hope I don't leave any out, but I didn't start going Earthshod as a young person. I really wish I would have, because there's a lot of benefits to living your life as barefoot as you possibly can from a young age, so you don't actually deform your feet by squishing them into small shoes, like smaller size shoes than you really should. And I always picked the widest shoes that I could, more or less from a fashion and practical point of view. I like playing hacky sack, and I wanted shoes that were good for that, and those were the wide shoes. It also happened that I had really wide feet, but even then I found that I did do damage to my feet over the years of just wearing shoes constantly, throughout my entire life until I was about 20. So I wish I could have undone all of that damage, but even starting when I did, I was able to undo some of that damage. On one of my feet especially, my toes went from being more like this to kind of evening out a little more. So that's one of the benefits, but it's not by any means the only benefit. One of the other ones that's really important to me is just thinking about footwear from the perspective of trying to not consume or to limit your own consumption kind of thing. So I want to show you these. I showed you these already. These are moccasins that I was gifted one year for Christmas shortly after I started going barefoot. I like those for days like today when it's cold, it's pretty crunchy on the feet. It's hovering around 0 Celsius, probably a little bit under that this morning, and just really uncomfortable on the feet. I also got these. I've had these for I don't know how many years. They're held together with shoe goo. I've replaced the liners in them. They're full of holes now, even through the shoe goo. And yeah, we didn't have many, maybe one substantial snowfall this year, one that I would worry about them leaking through, but those are what I have for when there's too much snow on the ground to be wearing the moccasins, and late winter when we're getting salt all the time and I'm worried about damaging my moccasins with the salt, I'll use the boots just because I don't want to ruin my moccasins. So I want to get the most out of both of those sets of footwear as I possibly can. I want to take care of them. I don't need to explain too much of that, but it's an anti-waste thing, for one thing. I don't like wearing them, like, per se, but I do because, like, it's really important for me to get out and enjoy the natural world. And when I put more emphasis on myself to be barefoot than to do that, it tends to lead to me self-isolating, and that's just not a good thing. I find it intensely beneficial for me to have my feet in contact with the earth or whatever we've done to the earth's surface, and I can do so comfortably for between half and 3/4 of the year, despite the climate where I am. And it's not a problem except for the issues that I run into, like doing my shopping in certain shopping malls, for example, and that sort of thing. And I want to get into that a little more. Past years, I've pushed going barefoot as late into the winter as I could and as early into the spring as I could possibly start again. And there's been advantages to that and disadvantages, but just this year I got this little crack on my toe just above my thumb there. It was worse. It's pretty well healed now, but I think it had mostly to do with the really cold, dry winter weather that we've had and the salt that's been put down and putting my skin through that. Now, it just cracked the callus. It never bled at all or anything along those lines. But it was just something that concerned me, something that I wanted to take care of and heal, and I found that not pushing myself to be barefoot to an extreme degree like I otherwise might actually helped me to heal it up, and that's part of the reason why I'm still shod this late into the, well, it's only the start of spring, but it's why I haven't been too extreme with going barefoot yet this year. Being barefoot is very important to me. If it were possible, I would be living barefoot 100% of the time if I could. I can't because certain volunteer work that I do requires shoes for, like, safety reasons. It's not safe to run into to fight any kind of fires or emergencies barefoot, so I need it for that. But at the same time, I've noticed some people will, like, mockingly question my beliefs if they see me, like, even under those circumstances wearing footwear. And, like, as important to me as being barefoot is, I've also noticed that part of the reason that I am as 100% of the time barefoot as I am is because of those attitudes from other people. Yeah, and speaking of those attitudes, human rights and discrimination, and especially where all of this stuff intersects with libertarianism, is a little bit touchy. Now, I did reach out to the Human Rights Commission of the province. They were incredibly dismissive. I included in the letter that, like, if I was to do skateboarding, like, I've noticed I can skateboard barefoot. I can't get better at skateboarding unless I learn with the proper protective equipment for the sport, which is sneakers, and I don't need to get into that, but you know what skateboarding safety equipment is. Sneakers help me improve. I included that in the letter. I was like, if I was to go skiing, I would wear skis. I would need boots to buckle into the skis, I'm pretty sure. And the Human Rights Commission used that as a reason to say, well, you're clearly not dedicated to being barefoot. This isn't an issue of religious discrimination. They neglected every other thing that I put in the letter. Like, the spiritual beliefs weren't the only thing in my appeal to the Human Rights Commission, but they used that as a means to dismiss the entire thing. And yeah, it was shitty, and it felt like a challenge. It felt like the provincial government and anybody who said that I'm obviously not barefoot enough if I wear firefighting boots. It felt like I should go barefoot 100% of the time, as much as I possibly could, to prove them wrong. Now, the libertarian perspective on, especially as far as human rights and discrimination goes, is that store owners should be able to discriminate against whoever they want for whatever reason. And that can be anything, including they don't like people not wearing shoes in their business and they're going to turn away that money even if it's a bad business move. Now, I would agree that that is one libertarian position. I would also agree that it's another libertarian position to say that, hey, human rights laws and anti-discrimination laws are made to apply equally to everybody. And if, according to the letter of the law, it should apply to people who are expressing their beliefs through being barefoot, whether it's for their spirituality and whatever their spirituality or religion might be. And there's a diverse, like, people express Christianity by being barefoot, Buddhists go barefoot, Muslims go barefoot in certain situations. I'm an atheistic pagan, and I find it extremely beneficial to go barefoot. There's a variety of us. But the laws applying equally to all people, I think, is another libertarian position, and which one I should go with could be a debate amongst libertarians, but that's not what this video is about. So I've covered the health and deformation of the feet side of things. I've covered the religion and spirituality side of things. I've covered the environmentalist, anti-waste, and economic side of things, where if somebody decides, hey, I don't need shoes for my lifestyle, I'm too broke to afford shoes, it shouldn't fall on them to defend themselves to the right to go to the grocery store and fucking buy bread. What else have I not covered? The freedom side of things. People should be free to dress themselves how they like. And, like, leaving out the extremes here, I don't see going around like this as much more dangerous than going around like this. Especially, like, public safety. Let's talk about public safety for a minute. So often I hear that I'm going to get sick from going barefoot, or that it's unsafe for me to go barefoot, or unhealthy for me to go barefoot, whatever. A liability for me to be in someone's establishment barefoot. It's not, but let's entertain the idea for a minute. People go around with their bare hands all the time. People aren't forced to wear, like, a safety helmet when they're in stores with products that are stacked high on shelves that go up to the ceiling or that are above people's heads. Yet if something was to fall from there, it's just as likely to hit our head as it is to hit our feet. And we are much more likely to use our hands to spread pathogens by touching bulk bins, or, like, we don't touch products with our feet when we're shopping. Yet people get so worried about all these things, and they're just more or less ridiculous excuses to try and exclude people who are barefoot from either public places, publicly accessible businesses, that sort of thing. And there's a very good argument for it to be an expression of classism or elitism, but if that's a thing you want me to get into, that should be another video as well. And there's also the argument that it could be a form of discrimination against somebody's creed of actually going barefoot. We're a very thinly spread group, but there are lots of different barefoot groups. Search online, see what kind of non-fetishy, stay away from those ones unless you're into that sort of thing, no judgment. But if you're not looking for that, look for the non-fetishy barefoot lifestyle groups. There are quite a few out there. So this has been a long one. I want to thank everybody for watching this. I want to point out that my social media stuff, including my new link to my Patreon, is going to be in my description if you're not watching this on Patreon. And yeah, I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. I hope it only gets better, and I'm out. Thanks for watching.